Hello everyone.
Hey,
Greetings for the
hey.
day. So today, after a lot of waiting on her part because I was so late with the replies, and I like to apologize to you publicly for that. But
No
yeah, today,
worries.
after lots of breaks and such, I have Shani with me, and she has agreed to come on and talk to me about illustrations. So
Yeah,
yay, Shani.
it's great to be here. I love chatting about
Yeah,
this kind of stuff and meeting new people. So thank you so much, Benati,
of course.
you let me
It's
know.
okay. It's okay. BS, call me BS. BS stands for Vinati Shades and Bullshit. It works out.
You got
Yeah,
it. I'm excited to
exactly.
chat with you today. And if there's
Of
questions
course.
or anything, I would love to answer those.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, guys, as always, the comment sections are open. Uh, she is a professional illustrator. She knows a lot about the publishing industry. And again, word of appreciation for you. I told her that I'm having troubles with publishing, and she sent me this huge list of people from LinkedIn. Connect with them. And I was like, this is so nice. She literally did it for me without expecting anything in return and asking for anything. It's fabulous. If you have any questions pertaining to illustrations, publishing, or life in general, because she very wise.
Oh,
So
shucks. You
feel free to
flatter.
put those in the comments. No, I'm not flattering. I'm being very honest. And we will start by talking about illustrations, and then we will see where the conversation takes us. So do leave us a hi, hello, how are you, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you in the comments so that we know that you are with us in the live. Thank you so much. So Shani, take it over. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. I run the Art Bard Productions, which is all about helping storytellers tell their stories visually through illustrations
Mm-hmm.
for their picture books, which could be comic
Okay.
books or graphic novels or kidlit, and then
Mm-hmm.
through pre-production services for games and animations and other films, right, or commercials. So that could be
Right.
character design or environmental, concept art, storyboards. And then recently I've gotten into creative consultation. It's pretty interesting to see how compartmentalized creatives are with just the creative process. Everybody who is a creative wants to live to be paid to create, but there's a whole business side to that. And I don't think creatives really realize that until they're really deep into the game of the business of creativity. So I've started to do some consulting around that, and that's been interesting.
Yeah. This is something that me and a fellow writer friend of mine also realized. Me and Sudeshna. Her name is Sudeshna. So we realized that artists have this, creators and artists have this thing around, oh, I have to be the poor, starving artist. And whenever you bring up the concept of finances, or whenever you bring up the concept of, you just have to scale up a little bit. You just have to bring in this diverse perspective about the art you are creating, which could get you more money, it could get you more opportunities. But artists don't really want to get into that because they somehow feel that it's an insult of their art. And I'm like, no, that's not. You have to survive, right? At the end of the day, if your art is not sustaining you and you have to rely on something else to survive, that's not fair. So it's great that you're consulting around the same. We've had so many conversations around it. This artists approach us going, "Oh, we can't make money," and we're like, "Just you just need to do a little bit, sell a little bit of your soul if you want, or if you want to call it that way." But
That's true. You have options when it comes to the business side of it. You can either get the money to pay a team to do what you don't want
right,
to do, right? And that's where you go for publishing houses, right?
yeah,
And the more well known you are, the bigger the publishing house you can go for. But what happens there is that you end up giving rights away. And in some ways, that's fair, right? The team that you're working with, they're putting in work. But that doesn't really line up with the romantic idea that creatives have that they're
yeah,
just going to write and get a check in the mail and draw, get a check in the mail, whatever it is. Because
yeah,
then at that point, your checks kind of diminish a little bit because you're splitting the work, which means that you're splitting the profit. So the other
Exactly.
way that you can do it is you can do almost everything yourself and get more money if you want, but that just takes learning. And we have this amazing thing called Google. You can totally utilize that, or you can invest in mentors. Mentors aren't really cheap, but they're worth it to have that constant feedback,
Yeah,
right?
investment. It's an investment, and you get a return on the investment in question.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
You are investing in yourself. And if
yeah,
you know yourself well enough, you know that you're gonna return on that. So it comes
exactly.
back to self-confidence and self-worth.
Yeah, mindset. So that's where me and Sudeshna also ultimately always land up, which is there is a mindset issue in the sense that we have had this idea around creativity and finances. It's like these two things are separate. Whereas I think finding a way to make sustainable income from that which you are creating is creative in itself. And I think that mindset change comes with self confidence, comes with experience, comes with proper advice. So yeah, it's fascinating that you are into this. We just sit and discuss and go feel sad because we work with creators and it always comes down to this. They go, uh, oh no, I can't do this because this goes against everything I believe in, etc., etc. And I'm like, oh, God. You're literally losing out on so many opportunities when you think like that.
Absolutely. I mean, creatives have the product within them, right? What they
Mm,
create is intellectual property. So when
yeah,
they're stopped by that idea that, oh, it's not what I expected, I have to do work for this, they really are short selling themselves, right? Or shortchanging themselves, right?
yeah,
They
yeah,
have what they need. They just need a little bit more knowledge and then they could take it far.
yeah,
The reason why artists or writers are so incredible at what they do is because other people can't do that, right? So if you are
yeah,
already a creative, you have a leg up in the game. It's just about supplementing that knowledge. And I'm not sure what your cultural norms are. I know for my culture and our norms here, if an artist or a writer is blooming as a kid, they get a pat on the head, say, good job, champ, and they're not really guided in the business of it, right? So that becomes
mm,
something that is somebody else's job. Mechanics
mm,
think about the business,
right,
doctors think about the business, lawyers think about the business, but not creatives, because
right,
that's just not something that we're encouraged to think about at a young age, where we start
mm,
showing that we're actually interested in creativity.
right. That makes, we have a bias about artists over here. Like, we are not really encouraged, it's not common. In the metro cities, of course, Mumbai, Delhi, all these big cities, Pune, Bangalore, uh, that's where going in the arts, going in the creative industry is encouraged once the child or children show some kind of a predisposition to the arts. But in
Mhm.
smaller towns, we're still dealing with that bias, which is artists don't make money. So that in itself is a very common experience that I suppose exists on all around the world because it is assumed that artists create art. That's it.
Mhm.
Not that they can create any business empire of their own or they can live a happy, successful, financially profitable life using what they create. So yeah, mindset and self confidence, I think, applies to everything, including the creative industry.
Absolutely, it's really counterintuitive.
Mm.
Oh, I forgot where I was going with that. I just had that. The thought just left. Um,
It's okay. It'll come back.
well, yeah, it will.
It'll come back. Come back. Come
Come.
back. Yes.
Uh,
Anywho, anywho. So let's do a little pivot to illustrations. Now, illustrations, I believe, are when somebody tells a story and you get the gist of it and convert it into an image, right?
mhm.
To make it more relatable for whoever it is that is experiencing that work. So, what exactly is your process around creating that? Do you have a process around creating that?
Sure thing. So, I remembered sort of where that thought was going, and it
Go
leads
ahead,
into this.
complete the thought.
It does. It's
Okay.
counterintuitive that to think that creatives don't make money or shouldn't make money. When you look everywhere, you have a billboard, you have a TV show, you have a book, and there's a creative behind that. There's creatives everywhere, right? So of
Yeah.
course we should be making money. We give a reason to feel good about living, right? What's the value to that? I don't know. Most people don't know,
Exactly.
but there is value to it. And so what I do, which is a value, is the illustration portion. And so ideally the client will come to me and they need to have a finished manuscript or comic
Okay.
script or film script or whatever. I work within those three genres.
Okay.
The script needs to be formatted for whatever the project is. So if it is or if it isn't, I'll give them that feedback and tell them to either keep working at it and come back to me, or yes, we're ready. Then I get the script and it's ready for me. And if it's comics, right, I'll start breaking it down by pages.
Okay.
There are certain mechanics that go into how the eye moves across the page. And so it's about lining up eye movements to encourage page turning with what's going on in the script, right? And then that goes into graphic design and the technicalities of illustrating. And then
Right.
the same can be said for a kid's book too, right? Uh,
Okay.
Picture books, just in different formats. If it's for film, I'll take I'll take the script and I'll hand draw the storyboards and
Okay.
I'll see what works there. Then I'll start translating that into digital storyboards. I use Toon Boom storyboards. They're pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
have like an animation feature if you want. I haven't really gotten into the animation. You'll notice with storyboards, digital ones, they kind of look like stop animation because they are each
Okay.
right. If you flip the page in quick succession, it looks like animation. So I'm sort of
Right.
moving into that. Um, so I'll take the traditional and I'll translate that into digital, and we'll see what works. And really, it's just a bunch of processing between, does this look visually appealing? Does it tell the
Mm-hmm.
story? There's a lot of
Right.
different ways that your images can enhance what the script is saying. Um,
Okay.
and I could go on a tangent for that, but
Go ahead. See, this is the best advantage of non-scripted content. It can go anywhere, and you're like, I want to know more. Before you do, there's a
sure,
comment, which
sure.
is creative is extending and landing off, not fixing and landing. I feel. Yeah, I think so too, sir. It's about it's about creating something at the end of the day, right? Not just being fixated on things, or not just like this is what has to happen, or this is what it will happen, or this is how it will end up happening, etc., etc. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment presented by, I believe, Seichiro-san. I apologize if I got your name wrong. I'm very bad at kanji. So there you go.
The effort is there. I agree also.
Yeah.
It's almost alchemical the way that you can make words interact with visuals. So it is
Mm,
the script is just where you start off from, and how you
right.
think the visuals are going to look, when you lay it down. Um,
Mm,
those are just best guesses for the feel that you go for, but you'll never really know how it truly lands until the person has it in their hands, because creativity or um, media is just as much about the receiver as it is
mm,
the media, right? A film will
yeah.
hit differently with different people. So
Exactly.
there's alchemy in there. You never really
Yeah,
know the
like
effect you're
Aaron
going to have.
Sorkin movies. You watch anything Aaron Sorkin has created, if you are a leftist or a centrist, you're going to go, oh, my idealistic heart goes boom, boom. And if you are on the conservative side or on the right, you're like, "Ah, what is this trolling? What is this? What is this idealistic garbage?" So
My
it's
heart,
the
boom,
same
boom.
kind of content. Yeah, it's the same kind of content. And you have such 180-degree opposite reactions to it, and that makes what Soha said very valid, and what you were saying valid as well. So yeah, fascinating. Uh, let's come back to illustrating. I hope I got the name of the software right. Toon Boom
Yeah,
Animation for storyboarding, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So coming back to illustrations, uh, from what you have shared on your LinkedIn profile, and you
Mhm.
do share some amazing illustrations. I love them.
Thank you.
uh, they have they have this dream fairy-esque fantasy kind of feel to them, which I
Oh,
absolutely adore. They look so cute. Like, oh
thank
my God,
you.
I want to be lost in them. So how exactly do you go around using words and creating this effect in someone's head who hasn't actually read the words? So even without reading what the illustration is associated to, I can get the gist of what this illustration is probably going to be about. So
Hmm.
what is the process of that from an from a illustrator's perspective? Because from a writer's perspective, we go adjectives and adverbs, right?
Sure, sure. Okay,
So,
well, so there's like cultural imaginations,
okay.
the media that we grow up with, it all adds to vocabulary that we
Mm-hmm.
internalize and we
Okay.
associate different stimuli with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to talk about a freshly baked pie on a windowsill, I would have that squiggly line, right?
Yes.
And then that plays into our imagination of that is freshly baked. So
Yes.
it's playing on what's called the visual vocabulary. Just like there's
Mm.
vocabulary or letters, right? An alphabet to make words,
Mm.
to make sounds, to
Right.
inspire ideas. Suddenly you
Right.
can hear somebody else's words in your head just by reading. The same is
Mm.
true about visual elements. And so it's
Right.
about taking the right visual vocabulary and putting it together into a story the same way that you do with writing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just knowing what different visuals mean to people and then
Right.
trying your best to share that. And you can do
Mm.
that through the style that if I wanted to say chair, how I said chair, how I drew the chair would say something about the chair and the person who sits in the chair, right? The color that I choose.
Boarding room chair, cozy chair, beanbag. Oh my God, I never really thought of this. This
Yeah,
is
it's all people look at the subject and that's the idea, right? The illustration is leading your eye where it wants it to go. That's what a good design does. But everything else within the image adds to that, and the viewers don't even know it. Like what you said, it looks like a fairy tale. I want to be in it. I don't know how you did that. But it's just the conglomeration of all these icons coming together to play on what you already recognize.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of psychology to it.
Yeah, and honestly, that point you made makes a lot of sense. I think one of the main reasons why so many people gravitate towards, like, say, Japanese culture is because they see manga as well as anime kind of illustrate that which is holistically Japanese on screen. So you're gonna look at it and go, oh my, I want to walk in that cherry blossom park, or I want to walk through those Shinto gates. You're going to want to be there without actually knowing whether the place exists in real life or not.
Absolutely,
So,
Studio Ghibli.
oh my,
The ambiance there. It's incredible.
my favorite, I got hooked on Studio Ghibli while watching Momonoke Hime. Like Prince
Okay.
Ashtaka just goes and he's going to drink a bowl of water from a pond. It's the little things. Before drinking the water, he rinses the bowl. It is such a little detail that would make no difference whatsoever to the animation. But you look at that and you go, oh, this is so wonderfully human. Maybe Prince Ashtaka was a real person. So I want to know what happened next. So yeah, what you're saying makes so much sense. And something else that Seichiro sir has said is emoji will be also vocabulary. Exactly. So I don't know whether you use GIFs, sir, but we do. So instead of saying no, I will use in India we do the snake dance. So instead of saying no, I will do an emoji that goes like this.
That's so funny. I wouldn't mind being
So
told no if that happened. That's a great way to be
exactly.
let down.
So young people, sir, we are all and when I say young, I mean those of us in our 20s and those of us who are still having problems with becoming mature. We are using GIFs to communicate. So instead of saying, I'll be there, you'll probably have a dog that is happily skipping and there's the message written under it. So emojis are definitely becoming vocabulary right now as well. And
Absolutely, yes.
if we look at hieroglyphs and if we look at ideographic languages from the past, that is a way of emoji in and on its own, isn't it? Even if
Absolutely.
it doesn't have that yellow color and that weird face.
Well, it's actually
Because
one of our oldest examples of comics. It's
okay,
hieroglyphics, right? People, at least in the US, people think that comics originated with the newspapers, right? But it didn't. It goes all the way back to Egypt. It goes all the way back to cave paintings. Those are comics.
Sumer, even Sumer, even Sumer,
Hmm.
that language is also pretty hieroglyphic in nature in the sense that it's using symbols to tell us the story. So how do we know about Enedwana? How do we know about all these people? Because they use symbols to make language interpretation proof. So if you're gonna look like I love this about Japanese kanji. Instead of coming up with a group of words to explain a concept, in a mountain that spits fire, that's volcano. Like you don't even you don't even need to do a paragraph to explain volcano. Just in creating the kanji for volcano, just in creating the kanji for trees, like forest is kanjis of three trees stacked together. So it's this concept of making language interpretation proof by using images. So I really like that about ideographic languages and languages which have hieroglyphics as the root rather than what we have, which is etymology.
Absolutely. Pictographic symbols, right?
Pictographic, exactly. Yeah, pictographic
And when it
rather
comes
than.
to go for it.
Go ahead, go ahead. No, no,
When it
no, go
comes
ahead. I
to
was going to repeat.
the emojis and whatnot, they
Mm-hmm.
play on iconographic facial expression. It's something
Ah,
called the masking effect. That
okay,
was coined by Scott McCloud, and he's like the father of analyzing how comics actually work. And
okay,
basically, the masking effect says that the more generalized you can get an expression, just the two eyes and the mouth, right? And then how you play with that. That's going
right,
to deliver your message stronger than if you had more of a realistic face. The more
right,
details you add to the image, the less about the message it becomes, and the fewer people it can speak to. Because suddenly
right.
you go from two eyes and a mouth, which could mean anybody, and if you start doing hair, then you're talking about somebody with only a specific kind of hair, right? Or somebody with
Mm,
a specific kind of nose, specific kind of eyes. And so
you're
the
eliminating audiences without even realizing it. Oh
exactly.
my God, this makes so much sense.
Exactly. So the emojis work as their own language because they're accessible to anybody, right? Even the skin
Yeah,
color is yellow. So they're trying to make it as
yeah,
non-denominational as
inclusive.
possible so that
Mm,
everybody can relate to it. So it
yeah,
does
yeah.
become its own language. And that's really the beauty of language. We go from pictographs to our own worded languages to kanjis and all of that. And language will form with us. The meanings get translated.
Hmm.
Developing. The gifts will
Right.
mean something that would have to be explained in a paragraph, but the gift
Hmm.
just says it all. And so that allows us to think in quicker in different ways. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the next generation, how they're going to carry their conversations and what
Right.
they're going to convey.
So
Emoji.
this is I did a little YouTube video about this a while back, which is when we look at English, English comes from the runes, right? It comes from the runic alphabet. And if we look at what it sounded like, Tehu, Uru, Suri, Sassan, Nusra, Ido, like this is alphabet. This is not language. And that became A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H to X, Y, Z. And
Right.
now we are saying, if I say BRB, you will understand, oh, she's going to go somewhere and come back. So from big alphabets which form big words. We have come to single sound alphabets and certain alphabets conveying a lot of meaning. So I am very excited to see how language is going to evolve, and I think emojis are doing that for us right now, whether we realize it or not. Because very young people only respond in emoji. So
It's true.
you can literally tell the age of a person on LinkedIn by seeing their LinkedIn post and the number of emojis in the post. The younger the poster is, higher the number of emojis. And
Also, the audience they're trying to attract. More
yeah,
emojis,
that's it.
they're looking for a younger audience.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So emojis on itself, I'm pretty sure someone is doing a lot of research on it already, and we're going to probably see the results of that. They have had such a significant, I think, contribution to where languages are going, because when you receive an emoji of somebody crying, you know that that person is not being passive aggressive; they're crying. Instead of you just typing "I am crying," which could be anything. I'm crying from laughter. I'm crying from crying. No, we have crying from laughter and crying from crying emojis separate.
That's right. We can tell the difference now. They've designed
Yeah,
for that.
exactly. There is so much thought in the design process. As you mentioned, using visual vocabulary to illustrate or design with. They did that. And so people resonated with that design. And nowadays people are using so much of that. So even if we see those carousel posts, which are now essential to go viral, if you are into content marketing and all of that, people are using that. People are using images and emojis and GIFs. These three things ever present. You'll have lots of negative space, and you will have one little GIF or one little emoji on the screen.
Absolutely.
So,
And it plays into how our attention spans have changed, right?
mm,
We were competing in a visual market. So the
mm,
quicker, and we're talking quick, right? That's why
mm,
people like the visual marketing. The quicker you can
mm,
get somebody's attention with an image or a GIF or an emoji, the better chance you have of getting your message shared. We're
mm.
just
So,
visually stimulated creatures these days.
yeah, exactly. So there's a breakdown of that, I think, on Backlinko or Caplink, I forgot where they have ranked GIFs. They have literally ranked GIFs in the order of shares. So
Huh,
use this GIF and that gets more shares. So
interesting.
in that friends, office, these are the GIFs that resonate a lot with people. And cats, surprisingly.
I'm actually not surprised by cats. I'm more surprised by friends.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous to consider as a premise. But so many people, like younger audiences, they don't know what Friends is. We grew up with it probably. I'm 28 years old. The college for me was watching illegally downloaded copy of Friends that some friend gave to me. Like, you have to watch this show.
That was my college days, okay? I illegally downloaded Friends. It was hard.
Every,
Cutthroat.
I think it is a rite of passage that you have to download and watch Friends if you are in college.
I was downloading Avatar Last Airbender. I'm a few years behind you, but that was me. Yeah.
I was downloading Naruto.
Fair. Fair. I mean, it's on Netflix now, so that must have been
Naruto is
some
on
time ago.
Netflix.
It's been on Netflix.
I'll check it because sometimes the region restricted. So Studio Ghibli,
Mm.
Kimi no Nawa is not on Netflix India.
Mm.
So if I want to watch Kimi no Nawa, I have to like get Crunchyroll and stuff like that, which I already have, obviously, because I put Shonen Otaku in my LinkedIn profile because I want to talk to fellow anime nerds. Look at that and come contact me, because that's it. People have such weird assumptions around those of us who watch anime, or those of us who read comics, or those of us who consume visual content. What they don't realize is there is so much to anime than hentai or than waifu or all that weird stuff. It's so creative. The design that you see, the realism of it, the storylines of it. They're so fascinating. And people just focus on the weird and the creepy.
The people who talk about it focus on the weird and the creepy, but
Yeah.
James Cameron, the director, he has been quoted as saying, if I didn't direct, I would be doing comics because so much
Hmm.
of the skills carry over.
Yeah.
Comic artists, comic creators, they're not just thinking like a
Yeah.
comic creator, they're thinking
Hmm.
like a director. They're thinking about the layout, they're thinking about the story, they're thinking about the
Hmm.
sound effects. I mean, there's sound effects there. So
Yeah.
there's
Pow. Boom.
exactly. So there's
Grrr.
an audio element to it. There's so many different aspects going on at the same time that it's a science and an art form. It doesn't get as much credit as it should with
Yeah.
as many skills necessary to do it. I I
Hmm.
I started doing storyboarding for films because the skills necessary for comics applies to films. If comics were really that simple, how is it that these skills transfer so well? It it
Yeah.
it takes more than just drawing a few pretty pictures and calling it good. Just saying.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have this little notebook. Okay. This
That's
is
good.
my. You won't be able to see what I've written, but I'll read something out, some things out for you. So what
Okay.
I do is I have these ideas about creating comics, but because I don't know how to do it, I'll have them written, and in the meanwhile, I'm learning how to draw and stuff like that. I literally got an iPad for that.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
exactly, because I wanted
Congratulations.
to do it. I wanted to do it. Like, see, I have something called Moon Art that is on page number one. This is so immature. Moon the object and Moon the hanging ass. Someone shows.
Okay. We can work with that. That-
So
good.
this began so many years ago. Like this is such an old notebook. It's become ratty. But I have it's full of ideas that I had randomly. Like, oh, I really need to draw this. I really need to draw this. Or I wish someone drew this, etc., etc. But it's like because you don't know the process of doing it, because you lack the confidence to do it. You keep procrastinating on that because you are consuming all this amazing quality of work, and then you look at the squiggy you have come up with, and you're like, I need to work on this.
Yeah, have you ever read The War of Art?
No, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's basically about all the forms of resistance you have to go through before you can actually start achieving your goals, right? Humans are inclined by their nature to just chill, conserve their calories, not expend too much energy. That's what
Right.
we do that. It evolutionarily, that's what we do. So
Mm.
when we start having a goal, our first instance of that creative resistance will be it would be so nice to just sit on the couch right now, right?
Mm.
Say you push past that and then you start doing your research. Yes, I'm finally making a movement in the direction that I want to go. Your next bit of resistance will be there's so much to learn, right? And then the one
Mm.
after that will be can I learn this? And then after that, it's I'm not doing this good enough. I shouldn't show this to people. People won't like this. People don't see the value in this. I'm not good at this. This is imposter syndrome, right? And then
Yeah.
the resistance will happen every day, right? But it's really up
Mm-hmm.
to whoever wants to get better at what they do to push through that. The resistance doesn't go away, but you get better at ignoring it or
Yeah.
getting over it. That's the only way
Yeah.
that you improve is to get over those voices that tell you that it's so much comfortable to be stagnant than it is to improve.
Mhm. Yeah. So this is something that I have written down over here as well, which is first year as a writer, I'm hot shit. I'm the best writer on this platform. Second year, I'm such a loser shit. I should just give up. Why didn't I just sit for placements? I should just give up and get a job.
Oh my god.
Third year, I'm not that bad. Look at me improving and everything. Fourth year, I just want to sleep. I need to sleep. Fifth year, I'm Socrates and I know that I know nothing.
Oh
Deep,
my
deep, deep
god.
into the future, if something doesn't take me out into quotes, I'm still a shit writer. I wonder why that is.
Oh my God, so many forms of resistance and everything you just said. Oh, all the
Written
voices
down,
in your head.
written down in I think second or third year of college. I don't recall exactly when, but second or third year of college would be 8 years ago. So
Wow.
exactly.
Well, at least you got it out of you, right? Most people just have it jumbled up inside and they can't push through it,
Mhm.
but putting it down on paper and then looking at it and then being like, do I believe this? Or, yeah, this is really good advice. I'm going to work on this. It's so much
Yeah.
different than just having it chorus, an echo chamber.
So that's why I have an avid journaling habit. So like this is bullet journal. This is where I
Hmm.
put facts, and this is feelings. So
Okay.
exactly. Once you put things down, you realize that you're being a dumbass or there's something that needs to be changed in the way you are doing things. Because it's like that coin flip thing, right? A deconstruction of that. When the coin is in the air, secretly you are hoping for a heads or a tails. I wish it's heads, I wish it's tails. Where heads refers to choice one, tails refers to choice two. In your heart, you are like, oh, I wish it's heads. This is a version, a deconstructed version of that. Because when you are writing, just writing, like no inhibitions, just let it all out, and you read it and you're like, what? Why am I plagued with so much self doubt? Or why am I plagued with so much confidence about something which is not that good? So you get to kind of check yourself in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And before we,
Are you
okay,
frozen?
the screen was frozen,
Okay,
but
okay.
the audio came through. Have you,
Mhm.
yes to everything you said,
Okay,
right?
good.
Just being able to see it and then really think about it critically. Do I want to believe this or don't I? That's more than
Mhm.
most people will put into themselves, right? And their internal beliefs. But
Yeah,
the effort that you put into that is
yeah,
going to show in the rest of your life, right? So it's totally worth it to
yeah.
critically analyze what you think or don't think that you think is true, right? It's very meta. Have you ever read Psycho-Cybernetics by
Exactly.
Maxwell Maltz?
I have.
Yeah.
One book I've read. Yay.
Yes. So what he was talking about how like humans are goal achieving creatures. We just
Hmm.
need to think and visualize and really internalize our goals and then a mechanism within us will guide us in
Right.
obvious ways or not so obvious ways towards our goal, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
internally we're self-sabotaging, the mechanisms within
Exactly.
us will ensure that we fail, right? But if
Hmm.
we are thinking about our success and really visualizing it and not just that, but like believing that we've already achieved it and the feeling that you get when you achieve what you're going for, your body, that mechanism will work for that. It
Yeah.
might be delusional optimism, but in my experience, it really works. And so I really encourage anybody listening to this that analyze what you think is real and then dedicate some space within you to a goal that you want to achieve. Believe that you've already achieved it, and then let your mind do the rest. You won't even need to
Mm.
think about it. Your subconscious will take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been reading Andrew Grove's High Output Management, and in that he has this point, which roughly comes to we don't, and he's the guy that brought IBM to where it reached from literally a nobody company.
Wow.
And he said the reason why I encourage people to create minutes of the meeting or create memos related to the meeting is it is not about summarizing the meeting. It is not about seeing how well somebody writes. It is about the mere fact that whatever it is they heard, they summarized it or they compiled it and they wrote it. Meaning, whatever they understood from that which was discussed is now tabulated in the written form. So, when you as a leader see it, you realize whether your message is actually getting across. When they, as a colleague, when they, as an employee, see it, they realize, oh, they have a problem, they have a gap in the knowledge that they have to face. That is the purpose of writing or summarizing things that you consume, according to him. and why he encourages that as a mentor-mentee activity, which is every time you talk to someone, summarize the gist of the conversation. And that's when you realize certain things that only happen in retrospect. And to me, that was a big, like a revelatory moment because, yeah, I think that's what journaling does in a sense. It lets you come in face with your own reality, whatever that is.
Right, right. It's the difference between what you said and what they understand, because conversation, just like with media, right? It's twofold.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about you, it's about the receiver.
What they understand, yeah.
Even in the nature of how you talk about what you're talking about, how you intend to say something might not be how it's
Mm-hmm.
received. So all of
Exactly.
this comes back to communication, communication with others, and communication with self. It's not enough just to
Mm-hmm.
communicate, though. It's about comprehension too.
Right.
Yeah,
Of course.
and my college professor said that if you don't understand the whole of a subject, find
Mm-hmm.
something within that subject that you do understand and work from there, right? And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about that as you were chatting about this book and um, the gaps in what is understood. No,
Yeah.
writing that down and seeing where you are, that gives you an entrance into how you can be better. Like, oh, I'm interested in moons and getting the moon shining on somebody. How can I
Mm-hmm.
draw that? And then just that would be the gateway to being a better illustrator. That would be practice. Some people would
Yeah, of
say
course.
start at the basics, do your basic circle, and then work from there, right? But if you start with something that you're interested in, the moon, it suddenly becomes intrinsically valuable to you to get better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Such a fascinating point. Yeah. Amazing. So coming to illustrations again,
Hmm.
uh, is there any place where somebody like me who wants to learn this, is there any place where we can start? Like, if you want to become an illustrator and you are looking into starting out. So these days there is this whole don't go to college, just get courses and stuff like that done. Kind of a movement that is happening, right? Ever since
Sure.
the COVID thing has begun. So if you are say a school student or something and you are contemplating college and you want to become an illustrator, how would you advise them to go about
College is an option, of course.
that? Of course.
What I hear as the drawback from going to college is that you don't get the business side. You know, you get the fundamentals, the basics, you're missing out on the business. And I think that's the problem with a lot of schools. I went to Evergreen and this wasn't a problem at Evergreen, but with a lot of schools they're compartmentalized. Every subject is its own thing. So you won't get the business of art at most schools. If you're looking
Right.
to be an illustrator and you're thinking about colleges, look at colleges that offer that. It doesn't matter how good you are if the business isn't there.
Hmm.
If you are unable to go to college, and college isn't for everybody, college isn't
Hmm.
accessible to everybody. I
Right.
would recommend the program that I'm going through, right? It's the Society for Visual Storytelling.com.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
really great, really smart. As soon as you start looking for the Society for Visual Storytelling, your algorithms will send you a bunch of other links to different kind of visual academies. So go ahead and
Hmm.
click through those. You know, all you're telling the algorithm is that you're interested in visual arts and studying it. So you might get a lot of good suggestions from the ad trackers who see that you're interested in this, and they can tell you what might be helpful. It really depends on what genre you're going into. Do you want to do storytelling through books, through films,
Hmm.
through games, through ads? Uh, Art is everywhere. Storytelling is everywhere. So
Yeah.
narrow down what you want. I would say the number one that would be my number one piece of advice is figure out what you want to do and then build your portfolio around that. Of course,
Okay.
maybe don't get stuck on any one thing if you're finding that your passion isn't actually in that realm. But when
Hmm.
you're trying to find clients, your clients are going to want to see that you're good at this one thing. And so if you have a portfolio that does everything in the kitchen sink, you're not going to attract those big ticket clients. You're going to attract clients who don't care what they get. So you're talking about your $10 buyers, right? Not your 5,000 to 20,000 clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a difference. So focus your portfolio, focus your study. So that's what I would do for the instruction. But if you want to hear what it's like day to day as an illustrator making a living, look at podcasts. I do uh, making comics podcast. I do a few of them. I got to look at them, but just look at podcasts, and people will be talking, conversationally about what it's like to be a working illustrator, and you'll pick up a lot of really handy advice. So just find the ones that make sense in your region.
Mm-hmm. That's actually good advice in your region. If you live in India and you are consuming a podcast for someone uh, who lives in the state and works in the state, their advice probably won't work for the Indian market. So yeah, in the region, listen to real.
Absolutely.
Let me edit this. Listen to real in the region. Let's make it a little more clear, because uh, this is actually something that I find as well, that many people are listening to advice from writers who are not working in the market that they want to target. So if I get some DMs like, how do you get clients from the United States, or how do you get clients from Japan, or how do you get clients? And I'm like, I don't get them. I actively targeted those markets, and that's why I got those leads. So you have to look at content and advice coming from the region to understand how to approach these people in the first place, or how to make them approach you in the first place. These things don't just happen by magic. You have to
There's work involved in
yeah,
the
you can't
business.
just go, Pier Totem Loco Motar, and like the stone statues will come down and start No, that's not how it goes.
It would be really great though if it as
So
soon as that
every time
happens.
I watch that scene, I get misty. I'd be like, if only I can do that to all the statues in my garden.
One day. Don't stop dreaming. Get that
Don't
internal
stop.
magnetism going.
Yeah. Or create some fictional universe where this is happening. We always have that option as
You could make
creators.
a comic about it.
We can make a comic about it. Exactly. Yeah. Fascinating. Okay, so let's come to some questions about you, which is
Oh,
what is your favorite genre of illustration? Like if you ask me, mine is fantasy. I like consuming fantasy illustrations because it is something that doesn't exist. So if I'm looking at visual art, I might as well look at things don't exist and go,
oh. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. I mean, that's why we have artists in the first place, to visualize what doesn't exist. So
mm-hmm.
that's a very kind of a pure appreciation of it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
because
I'm very idealistic. If that was not clear already,
boom boom.
yes. Boom,
uh,
boom.
that's why I'm in visual storytelling. I like my illustrations to tell me a story. I
Okay.
You could have illustrations that are about, just a portrait or just a
Mm-hmm.
landscape, a still life. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, good ones will show the story there of what's happening in real time. There's an appreciation for that, but I really like my illustrations to have a main focus, like a character or something, and there's a plot to it. I like to be able to see the story unfolding visually. And sometimes that means it's just one illustration with a wide shot, and you see this tiny person with a huge environment. They're looking at a mountain or something, and that's very popular. Other times it's sequential and comics, right? So I'm
Right.
drawn to what I do, and I do what I'm drawn to, and that is visual
Okay.
storytelling. Past
Right.
that, I gotta say, landscapes are a favorite, and I originated doing portraits. I was doing watercolor portraits, so
Okay.
the face has always been really interesting to me. Just getting the colors right and the emotion right.
So
It's
I have a dumb person question now. Some of these landscapes and portraits that you have shared on LinkedIn, are they digital art, or are they real-time watercolors and portraits that you've created?
the earlier stuff. That was before I had all my cool gadgets and googads.
Okay,
So that was all traditional. I
I
think
see.
once I started doing the cloud experiments, they turned into all digital, right? So it was only
Yeah.
within this last year that I've actually switched more to digital. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been a lot of producing pieces to get the body of work that I have digitally that I have now. And all that, here's my plug, can be found on theartbard.com,
Mm-hmm.
theartbard.com. Check it out. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do a screen share if you want.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can share your screen and show people what you created, or
Sure.
I can share it for you. I was just looking for the link. I just went on your profile and got it. I
Um,
forgot to get it from you in advance.
no worries.
Uh,
I can
let's
share, doesn't matter.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I will push this button. All right, looks good. I think. I don't know. Maybe you should do it.
Okay, I'll do
You're
it.
probably
Hold
here. Let me.
on. Mhm.
So I've just sent you the link.
Yep, I'm already sharing it. There
Oh,
you go. That's both of us and our broadcast studio. And here's your
oh
lovely website.
yeah.
There you go.
Thanks. So
Exactly.
I've had to redo this website a number of times because of what I mentioned with the portfolio, right? I can do a number of things, which is great. I can do landscapes, I can do portraits all day. But I
Mm-hmm.
want clients of a specific field.
Of
So
course.
that's right. I'm showing the illustrative narrative services. I'm showing the pre-production services for films like character designs,
Mm-hmm.
storyboards, that kind of stuff. So it's all there. But I'm
Yep.
also building up on it because I pivoted into this just last year. So there's much more to come.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm also currently working on my website, and I see this is it. See, so wonderful when you look at something that's so vividly alive.
Thank you.
So no, I'm not kidding. Like, see here, the forest over here. You could see the forest has life in it. It's not like a forest that you look at from a photographer's perspective, but it's a forest that, that seems to be created. That seems to exist in somebody's imagination. So I really love some of these portraits that you share. And yeah, there you go. Check out theartbard.com to see. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Is there something I should click on specifically, Shani, if you want?
No, that's good. You've
Okay,
done
so
great. Yeah.
we'll stop sharing the screen and come back and show our lovely faces and continue on to the same. But yeah, check out her lovely work at theartbard.com. And yeah, it's this is it. This is what I personally am very bad at. I can draw something nice. That's not the problem. But when it comes to making it come to life, very bad at it. Like it looks like a painting. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like something that's telling a story. It's like, oh, that's a tree. Fine. Not that's a tree with a little bird sitting on it and singing. So that is something that illustrators do really well, which is why artists, or not artists, this is why writers, we don't create, most of us don't create our own book covers. We hire illustrators to do it for us. Because when we do it on our own, we are so extremely biased by our love for the work we have created that the book cover comes out to be so dead. I think that's the perfect way to describe it. The book cover comes out to be so dead and so lifeless that while it might look pretty, it will not make you want to gravitate to hold that book as somebody who does not know anything about the book, which is where the whole the arts are a collaborative industry comes into play, which is writer writes, illustrator illustrates, editor edits, publisher publishes. It's fascinating.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane and let the experts do their thing as long as you have the budget. or as long as you have some barter system going on. Because when I started out initially, that's what I was doing. I was relying on barter system. I know how to write, you know how to draw. Let's do a little exchange, and boom, it worked out. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And
find out good. Go ahead.
what you said with the bird and its singing, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? It includes the audio too. It's not just the visual, it's playing on the senses. Writers play on the senses when they describe a scene. It smells like
Yeah.
this. They heard this. They saw the fog, right? But you
I'm
can
telling
do
you,
the
I'm
same
going to
thing.
review Norwegian Wood live very soon. I'm going to do live book reviews now. And I am 100% sure I'm going to cry during the review. Because there is this one scene, and this is it. This is the magic of visual description, where somebody's bottled grief comes out and it is described. And if you yourself, given how we in the society treat each other and how we treat grief in general, and how we have this picture perfect view around the fascinatingly beautiful person crying in the corner, as opposed to what grief actually is, which is vicious and energy consuming. The way it's described and the way you experience it chills you, right? And you feel it. You feel the grief of the character. And I'll start crying, so I'm gonna be, I'm
Bring it back, bring it
gonna,
back.
I'm gonna keep it for when I do the review in the first place. But yeah, that's it. Like you're bringing the visual element by doing those little things. It's just a little musical note, right? But inserting that musical note in the first place is why you need illustrators. Because you might have a beautiful picture of, oh, I want a tree, or I want a heart, or I want a blood splatter. But you won't know that you have to bring this element to it, which is uh, a little musical note to make the whole scene come to life.
Absolutely. We're playing on that visual vocabulary, right?
Hmm.
We know what signifies what to people. If we
Yeah,
put in the blood splatter, that's going to say something's fishy or something tense went down, right? But the next clues around that is going to tell us the rest of the story. If it's like
so that's the
curtains hanging
mistake
off the
we made.
wall, right?
That's a mistake we made on a collaborative book we did. The book
Okay.
was on menstruation, okay, and our book cover has a blood splatter. So people thought that it's a mystery. We're like, no, it's and then I realized that, oh, I should not have done this on my own. I should have got someone else to do it. So I learned from experience, very literally. So
Absolutely.
that's what I mean when I say that people should stick to their lane. And I'm very bad at illustrating. I have proof of that.
If this is my cover, this is the proof. The blood splatter
Yeah.
didn't work. It was a
No, it
learning
didn't work.
experience.
It's a learning, yeah, and I think that's why self-publishing is really good
Mhm.
because you get to learn so many things without any gatekeeping or any kind of bone-crushing criticism coming
Mhm.
your way. You get to learn from actual feedback, and you get to learn from actual slaps in the market.
Yeah,
Something.
that's gonna be your greatest teacher there.
Exactly,
People aren't
exactly,
buying, what's
exactly.
the problem?
Exactly. Yeah. People aren't buying. What's the problem? So you start asking these questions. And then you realize, oh, this is the problem. This is the biggest problem. This is the even bigger problem. This is the problem I didn't even consider could be a problem, but voila. So
Well,
yeah.
there's stages to learning and becoming an expert in something, and you probably already heard it. It's like unconscious incompetence, conscious competence, incompetence, right? Then conscious competence, and then unconscious competence, right? It's
Maybe
basically
you should make an illustrative infographic about this for those of us.
I
That
definitely
should
wouldn't be the first.
be,
Um,
go ahead,
it's
educate us
basically
nonetheless.
you don't know what you don't know, and then you
Hmm?
realize that you don't know, and then it's incredibly overwhelming how much you don't know, and then you start learning, and it's an upward climb, but by the end of it you're on autopilot. It's the same as like learning to drive a car or something. You're really
Mm-hmm.
focused on all the mechanics, but by the end of it you're a natural,
Yeah.
and there's a whole learning curve to that. So if you're not if you're not going to invest the time to do that, how long did it take you to drive a car, figure that out, right? And then
Yeah,
become an expert mechanic and fixing your car, right? All the things that make you like this professional driver and car owner. If you're not going to apply the dedication to become an expert to something, definitely pay somebody who is.
yeah,
You get what you pay for, right?
of course.
So invest in having an expert in your corner, right? Because that's an asset.
Yeah,
I'd rather have one than not.
yeah, true. And if you don't want to invest in anything, learn how to barter well. Because as a beginner, you probably don't have resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to borrow money from someone. You probably don't have a full-time job in the sense of paying rent, buying food, all of that. Along with that, financing the creatives that you are coming up with every day. Learn how to
Mm-hmm.
barter well. Collaborate with people in your industry and offer something in return of services that you get from somebody else who's also learning. That way you learn together with someone within your niche. That I think nothing could be better. Two creatives helping each other grow to
A
become some.
learning community.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So I did this. I used to play video games. This is 2009.
Who,
You know,
you? Video games? I would have never guessed.
oh, I was seriously addicted to them. And then I realized, oh, this needs to stop. So I stopped. I don't
Oh,
anymore,
wow.
but I used to. So in the video games, you have the audio interface, right? You get to talk to people when you are running multiplayer raids and stuff like that. So I was playing video games with people from all over the world, and contemporary to what the popular narrative is around video games, which is men online who play video games are sexist and all this. No, they are not. They're very nice. They'll be sexist to you if and only if you say something sexist in return. So my experience video gaming online has been very, very positive. So I used to play video games and I used to talk in English, and there was this one fellow who didn't talk in English, but he could type in English. So I was like, why don't you say anything? And he's like, I'm Japanese. I cannot speak English because I don't know how to talk in English. And I was like, I want to learn Japanese. Can you teach me? I'll teach you English. Right? And he was like, for free? I was like, yeah, for free. He's like, I will also teach you Japanese for free. I was like, "Yay!" that's
Some
literally
things
what
make
we did.
sense.
It's literally what we did. Barter system of a language. I taught him English, he taught me Japanese.
Do
And we
you
are doing
speak
this while
Japanese?
playing a video game. Pardon?
Are you fluent in Japanese now?
I'm still learning the phonetics of it. But yeah, I can read well. I will review the book Norwegian Wood in English as well as in Japanese. Norway no Mori. That was what Norwegian Wood originally was, and that's the book that exploded Haruki Murakami to the fame that he has right now. So
This
yeah,
one
I,
interaction changed your life, just like that.
exactly that's
You
one
did it for the
interaction,
money.
and I wasn't afraid to collaborate with somebody who I didn't know. Like you can very easily shut your internet and disappear for a little bit. It's not as bad as people make it sound out there. There are horror stories. I'm not saying that there aren't, but that's not the norm. That's the exception. You have to
Right.
focus on the norm and not the exception. Learn to barter your skill. If you have some skill, that skill could be, say you know how to write very well, you have good handwriting. You can barter that, which is I will letter your blog banners for you. In return, you sketch them. Something like that.
Right.
So
Right. And
come up
also
with barter systems. Go ahead.
definitely, whatever the value is, I'm sure that would take some fleshing out, right? Of like, how many teacups does this equal? But also getting away with it's good enough, right? Have you seen
Yeah,
the Cyanide and Happiness comics or the Nathan Pyle comics?
of course
They're
I have.
just aliens, right? You don't,
Cyanide is
what you need to get your point across effectively is different than being the best out there. right?
Yeah.
Two different
Yeah.
things. So figure out your goals and then what's like the bare minimum that you need to do that. And if that takes some
Mm-hmm.
bartering or if that just takes a different kind of storytelling or whatever it is that you're trying to do, go
Yeah.
for it. Don't let that resistance of imposter syndrome or I'm not ready yet win
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it will if
Exactly.
you let it.
It will win. Yeah, it will win. It will always win because we are our own worst enemies, aren't we? We'll stop ourselves way before somebody else will. And it's tragic, but yeah, we have to work through that.
We know what to say to ourselves, to
Yeah.
wound or
So
to
check this
encourage.
book
We know
out
it.
that Shani has recommended, The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. I'm going to read this.
Worth it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, because this is a big problem that most of us have. This one of the main reasons why I ghost, right? Primary reason I say is I want to learn from
Mhm.
I want to learn how to write books. But the real, honest to God reason is I am not confident enough to put my name onto a book yet. You know? So
Oh.
exactly, yeah, see, this is
Oh.
it. So if I learn to break through this bias that I have, maybe I'm going to publish my book without waiting for publishers to give me a good deal, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, exactly.
Well,
So,
just
yeah,
have your book done. Have an
mhm,
asset. If we're
exactly.
just playing the whole am I ready game, doing everything
Mm,
that you can to get yourself prepared for that moment, and it's going to be
mhm,
an impulse moment of okay, I'm going to do it, right? Just
right.
getting everything in line for that one moment. You're going to yes, I'm ready and you can't look back, right? But
Yeah,
have that book done.
yeah,
Don't let
true.
anything stand in the way before that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I'm definitely going to check this book out for sure, and I hope others who are struggling with this issue do as well. So opening it up to the audience, I I don't know why we have such a quiet comment section today because generally we have but I think it's because it's really early morning on a Sunday where
Could
I am.
be.
In the sense, it's early from Sunday perspective. On Sunday, it's like I'm gonna be lazy.
That's fair. They might review it afterwards. Whether
Yeah,
this
yeah.
helps them or not, I'm having a good conversation. It's good to chat with
Yeah,
you.
same here. Same here. So if anyone has any questions on any of these platforms, be it LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, feel free to put those in the comments. We can see all the comments that come from any platform. So yeah, if there are any questions, let us know because I'll have to let Shani go pretty soon because she has prior commitments. So if your questions come in the end, we won't be able to have her answer them for us, right? So yeah, if you have any questions, shoot those and we'll see whether we could answer them or not. Coming to questions I have for you. You mentioned something about agriculture,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So you are into agriculture. I'm into growing stuff myself. Do you think that being in tune with the nature, as in literally having your hands dirty, helps you with creating the work? Because I feel this sense of peace after I work in the sand and I work with the plants and I like to run my hand on plants. So after I do that, I get this sense of peace. It helps me work better. So do you have something like that with agriculture?
In multiple ways, physical labor helps to quiet the mind, tire the
Okay.
body out, right? So that here I am hunched over, my little tablet just trying to draw and it's not good for the posture. And if you're not getting out enough, there's a lot of energy and jitters behind that. So getting the hands dirty and getting the body tired helps to keep focused and quiet the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a lot of sensuality, right? There's senses involved
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
engaging your body into something. And I think
yeah,
having your body aware of different sensations makes it, or at least for me, makes it more sensitive to tactile information, right? I know how much pressure I'm putting onto the pen. I know how my
right.
arm's feeling. Am I drawing from my shoulder? What's my
Mm,
posture like, right? So there's
of
a lot
course.
more communication between nerves. When we're talking about art, we're talking about hand-eye coordination, right? So there's a physicality to it. So just
Yeah,
having your hand do what your mind is telling it to do If you can see it in your mind's eye, that's one thing. Can you tell your hand to do what your brain wants it to do? The better you can do that, the closer you'll get to your vision in your head, right? And so having hands that can, plant a tiny seedling and also rip out a weed, two very different forces. Having that dexterity transfers to how
Yeah. There's a skill to plucking flowers also, by the way. If you're going to eat at a flower, the stamen is going to stay on the flower and just the outer bit is going to come out. So you need to have the right amount of pressure to pluck it by your hand. You have to
absolutely.
pull against the stem, not like that. That's how you pull weeds out. So
Gotta get the
yeah,
roots.
yeah, you gotta get them roots, otherwise the new one will be out the next day. Be like, I'm back.
You thought you were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's this little, very tiny little purple flower. It's
Mhm.
some kind of an invasive parasite. I don't know what it is. No matter how many times I get rid of it, it comes back. The very next day, I'm like, I know you are pretty, but you are soaking up all my fur. Why you do this? But no, it's always there, waiting for me in the morning. Go, hello, I'm back.
Well, it's there because nothing else is. Um,
Yeah,
I got my degree in
probably.
agroecology, and ecology looks at just that, right? There are certain redundancies in nature. Plants do certain things, animal do certain things to
Mm,
transfer nutrients around. So if you have a
right.
weed, then that weed is doing something for the soil. If you want to get rid of that weed, you need a different plant that competes with that weed
We,
and does the same thing to the soil, right?
mm,
Because nature abhors a vacuum. If there's
yeah.
a blank piece of soil, it's going to put something else in it. So
Mm,
you got to put something else in it that you want to see. Otherwise,
mm.
nature will do that for you.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
exactly. There's this weird yellow flower, very pretty looking yellow flower. Every time it rains, entire garden full of them. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't mind you. Enjoy, you're pretty. I pluck some, plop them in a pot. But I know, as you said, it found its place in nature, and it was like, I'm a grow. Boom.
Do something about it. I didn't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
And I'm like, no, I won't do something about it. You pretty. So I'm gonna let you be.
That's funny.
So yeah, yeah, fascinating. So I see a lot of nature in your work, which is why I figured you probably, not probably, you definitely are inspired by that. I mean, who isn't, right? Who isn't inspired by nature? Everyone is. It's so pretty.
You know, I don't want to sound like that old person, right? Because I was young, I'm still young, there are old people in my life, and I'm somebody else's old person, and it's strange. And I worry about this next generation not getting outside time. There's less nature out there anyways. We're paving over it. People
Mm.
are spending more time indoors looking at the screen. I wonder how our inspirations are going to change. Even within literature, we've seen the change. It's been
Of
man versus
course.
nature, right? Now it's man
Yeah.
versus technology. And I say man, but
Mm.
I'm talking human, right? So it's
Yeah.
human versus technology now, and that's new.
But
It's
if
so
you are into film analysis and all that, J horror, Japanese horror movies. If you look at J horror, be it Ringu, which became Ring, be it Ju-on, which became what is that movie? Grudge, Grudge.
mm,
So these are all original Japanese movies, and they all have one thing in common: the monster is coming out of technology. And I
that's
think
true.
I think Japan was way ahead of the curve in this sense. Even with Ghibli, even with Momonoke Hime, right? It predicts of it, forest fires, what what like the queen that had the iron smelting was fighting the goddesses, like if you remember the movie. That is literally what we are going through right now in 2019 and 2020 and 2021. This movie came
Absolutely.
out in 1980. Same with J horror, right? They have all these awful things, monsters and devils coming out of screen, whether it was phone, whether it was laptop, whether it was TV. whether it was a VCR, right? They have the monsters coming out. It was I think Japanese creators' reaction to students. They have a hikikomori problem, right? Youngsters that are not coming out of their rooms and just staying indoors.
Right.
So they predicted this way before the rest of us, which is the more exposure you give youngsters to technology, the more they are going to stay indoors, and that will become like a problem. In that they used this metaphor, that of a demon, to show it. Uh, and we are just talking about it, but they were like, nope, we're going to make it into a monster and we're going to make it drag you into hell. So
It's
yeah, I
happening.
think it is happening. It is because, and we can't even blame them. We can't even blame them because without technology, if you try to exist without technology, you're going to be way behind your peers
Absolutely.
professionally, personally, because almost everyone's online. If you don't have a phone, how are you going to talk to your friends, right?
Right.
So we
Even
can't
with,
even blame. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, even with illustration or any kind of service provider, right? I don't want to
Hmm.
spend the 3+ hours that I could be spending on LinkedIn going through all these messages. I looked at my numbers. I keep stats. I sent 95 messages yesterday. 95.
Oh,
You know how long that took me all day. I don't want to
of
spend that time.
course.
I'm trying to fix that because that's not going to be able to be sustained, right?
Hmm.
But if I wanted to do it the old fashioned way, where I put my name in a registry and publishers look at it and they pick my name out of everybody else's, if I don't have an online portfolio, they don't care. I
Yeah,
am required by society right now to get my name out online. And
yeah,
you're right. We can't blame youngsters. We're the ones putting the technology in their hand. We're the ones who
yeah,
cultivated this culture around
yeah,
technology. They're just
yeah.
living in it. So
They are
it's
just
really,
living in it. Exactly.
we got to figure out how to balance this. And of course, it's we're new to this. So
But I think balancing it would be very simple because it's just a matter of intention, and I think that's probably missing from a. Uh, Again, I don't have kids, so I cannot make this statement at all, and I won't. Uh, but from the little children that I babysit sometimes, be it cousins or children or family friends, you take them out in the garden and show them how to make a terrarium, show them how to make a planter. They love it and they call you and be like, I'm coming Sunday again. I will bring my own pot. I brought this plant. Teach me. You know? So if you
yeah,
expose them to these things, if you take them on nature trails, nature hikes, if you bring them a little flower plant, if you teach them how to propagate plants from scratch, they love those things. But that's it. You have to give them exposure to these things and not use excuses like, oh, I live in a city, I can't. You can. You just need the intention to do that.
absolutely. And when I
So
was
yeah.
working with landscaping
Nope.
and farming and all that,
Mm.
the main mechanism that we would use to get kids involved is to plant berries, right? If they can taste the
Mm.
food, then they're involved. If you can get their senses into it, then they're interested, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it, you know, whatever mechanism you use is great. Also, plant berries.
Yeah.
That's
Also
what I
plant
need to
berries.
say.
Yes. Yes. I saw it firsthand. So pair of twins, they are like, ew, broccoli, ew. Ew, cauliflower, ew. I was like, okay. Started the process. They are children of the family, and they're in 12th grade, so they're not that small as well. So
Mhm.
we planted the seeds. We planted the broccoli seeds and the cauliflower seeds. We waited for them to grow, and they are calling me every alternate. Did it die? Did it die? Did it die? And in the meantime, I gave them a lettuce, like doing the toothpick thing. Like, you
Mhm.
take care of the lettuce, and I'll take care of the cauliflower seeds. So this is happening. They are excited. My lettuce grew a leaf. I was like, of course it did.
Oh,
That's how nature works, right? And they're going batshit crazy every day. Did it die? Didn't like, no, it's not dead. Don't worry. And then we harvested it around three odd months later, and I made them pasta with it, and they ate it. No questions, no grumbling, no complaining, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna cook the next one based on plants we grow on our own." So
that's
once you
amazing.
show this process to them, they're gonna love it because it is addicting. You're
It's
gonna fall in
empowering.
love with it. It is empowering, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you don't show it to them, you show them a YouTube video of somebody doing gardening. No, that's not what works. You have to actually go there and muddy your hands. So again, I'll sound like a broken record about Japan, but I'm fascinated by Japan. You can rent plots for cultivation in Japan.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you could probably do that if you can afford it. Rent a little plot of land and grow something there, like a little community garden.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what we've
exactly what
done
we have.
in the place I live, in the wake of the corona virus thingy. That in case agriculture comes to a halt from the farms, you at least have potatoes and tomatoes and chilies and cauliflowers in your society or in the communal area, so that nobody starves. You don't just have to eat canned food. You have
Right.
something at least.
Well, when
So
the
yeah,
pandemic hit, and people thought that, the stores were going empty and can farm workers still farm because they have to wear the mask and all these other things, there was a whole scare of can we do the food? And so before I had my whole pandemic drama, I had initiated this movement within the community of everybody crop and then we'll just trade, right?
hmm,
And so I was doing the
exactly.
work of like designing who grows what and how much and where we trade. And so
Yeah,
that's just another way of instilling that empowerment and that resiliency within the community just by growing food. People
yeah.
don't imagine it because it's so basic, but really a strong community is based in secure food sources. This is
I
way off the topic of illustration.
but no, it isn't really, because if you really think about it, technically,
Okay.
illustrations are like little seeds, right? That fell in the fertile soil of your head, and then they grew because you nurtured them little by little by little by little, right? You pulled out all the weeds of self doubt. I have to be a writer, okay, Shani? Like, come on.
You pulled out the weeds of self doubt. You amended
Yeah,
the soil. It is fertile, which with rich ideas, luxurious colors.
exactly. You put the compost of feedback and critical analysis.
That's great. You are a writer.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah, so
Uh,
I think we are rapidly approaching the time,
hmm.
which was 9:30. So do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
any closing statements and such?
You froze a little bit, so I'm gonna wait until the unfreezing happens. I'm just gonna wait. Frozen. Not frozen.
Hello? Are
Hello?
you there?
Hi. Okay, we're unfrozen, I
Are
think.
you there?
Mostly, are you there? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Are you there?
I am here. Are you here? Hello?
Okay, yeah. So
Oh,
essentially what happened, yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So what happened is I live in a very rural, remote type of township. It's a forest in the middle of it. It
Oh,
was a
wow.
forest. Yeah. And then they carved a little township in the middle. So courtesy of that little nugget, internet here is awful. So sometimes what will happen is the mobile tower, it will drive away. So I will have no cellular network, and some rat or snake or uh, something like that will chew on my wires. So
Really?
essentially, what happened? Yep, my broadband cut off, so I had to go on hotspot.
Oh, wow. Okay. A rattlesnake. That's
I have no.
fascinating.
My neighbor, the one who lives above me, yesterday had this happen. A lizard came out behind her air conditioning, and then a snake came out to eat the lizard.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Inside the house?
and
Come on.
yep, yep, inside the house. I have a video on YouTube where a snake is coming out of my washing machine. So
Oh my God. Has it ever
No,
come out of your toilet or anything? Because that is a fear. That is a huge fear.
okay, not snake, but I had a monitor lizard come out of it.
Get
We,
out.
yeah, yeah. I have a photo and everything. I'll show it to
Oh
you.
my God. No, that is a horrible reality to
Okay,
live through.
listen. On the positive side of things, nobody was
Uh-huh.
sitting on the toilet when it came out. So
Yes,
that's good.
positive. But also, if anybody was sitting on the toilet and a lizard came out, they wouldn't know up until the end. Hopefully, right? So even if there has been a lizard, you
It's a
wouldn't know.
monitor lizard. Okay, like it's very big and it's
Oh,
got
okay. No.
sharp claws. So you will hear the claws before it comes out.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
It will be like these kind of sounds coming from under your toilet. I think nobody will sit on a toilet one.
Oh my God. Yeah, wipe quickly. Get the pants up. Come on.
Yeah,
You're doing
I
the
don't think
pants
anyone's
up
going to wait for wiping either, because you have a sound of chalkboard nails under you. I think they'll do a little extra poop, and
show. Yeah, you're good. Just put the pants on and run.
yeah, we can watch that later in the snake infested washing machine.
that that I can't wait. That sounds
So yeah,
super.
we have these kind of weird struggles all the time, and there is literally nothing I can do about it because I don't know when the snake is going to, when the rat is going to bite something. So yeah, my Wi-Fi cut off, so I had to do the personal order. So I apologize for the same.
No worries.
Apologize to any audience that was inconvenienced by this. But like I'm shamelessly blaming snakes, rats, and Airtel. So there you go,
Yeah,
and GTPA. There you go.
how dare they? I
How
blame them.
dare they? How dare they?
Grr.
Anyway, any closing remarks you have for us, Shani? I already took 2 minutes extra of your time. I apologize for that.
You're fine, you're
But
fine.
yeah, any closing remarks?
I suppose it would be one, learn about the business side of anything that you do.
Okay.
It's good to stay in your lane, but it's also good to empower yourself with whatever
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that it takes to really be good at what you do. And if that means that you have to learn marketing so that you can tell people about your business, do that. That's the business of a business. That there's work to it. And then secondly, you're going to have to there's every day is going to introduce resistance to you again and again and again. You're never going to get rid of that I don't want to do this voice. It
Right.
is more about how well you can overcome that. You
Mm-hmm.
will get better at overcoming that voice the more you do it. So
Mm-hmm.
just swallow the frog and do what feels like work until it doesn't feel like work anymore. And then you'll be advancing. So just,
Yep.
yeah, keep improving on yourself. You can do it.
Yeah. And I'll add a final point, which is go to this art.com.
The
See, I
art
got
part.
confused about the fingers again. For those of you who are interested, I'll leave the link in the comments. I can't leave the comments while the live is active, but I can once it's over. So I'll
Oh,
leave this, and Shani is already tagged in the post that you are seeing. Just click on Shani O, that will be shown in blue. Click on it, and it will take you to her profile. And I'll leave this link in case you are interested to hire her or talk to her or etc. Whatever it is.
I love
So
meeting
yeah,
new
thank you so
people, so
much.
please.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this at such an ungodly hour, despite a very busy day.
Likewise, thank you. I know that's really early by you.
Oh
So,
no, no, I was already awake for 5 hours at the time that we had set up. But I was worried about the internet cutting off because it's Sunday and people go crazy on Sunday for some reason. I don't know why.
fair, crazy Sundays. I got a t-shirt
Crazy.
that says that.
Ah,
Oh,
okay. Fascinating. Okay, so I'm going to let you go now. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me and hope
thank
we can
you.
do it again about publishing someday.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I would love to. Thank you for the invitation. It's
Fascinating.
been a lot of fun. And
Of
I
course,
can't
of
wait
course.
to chat with you again. And if there are any questions, please feel free to hit me up or DM me or any of that. I look forward to chatting with anybody.
Yep.
All right.
Bye
Well,
bye.
thank you. Yes. Adios.
There you go. as a comment. Okay, nice.